Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1 with financial advisors Scott Brown and Tammy from Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is that website. One more time, and it's time for listener questions. We have an email. People email us at EdgewaterFamilyWealth@RaymondJames.com. And this one is a bit, I don't know. This, for me, I read this email and I was like, this seems like a troll question, but it's a very valid question, and it's from Nick, and it says, I have a really good job. I plan on keeping my job for a very long time. I'm 45 years old. Do I really need to invest? And that's just from it's just very simple. It goes on a little further, but it's just like, I got that and I was like, do I need to invest? What a silly question. But then, is it though? Because does everybody who's rich invest, or do you have that screw company? And you're just like, yep, I make the screw money comes in, done.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody needs to save. I mean, if you're a trust fund baby, I guess, and you know you're going to inherit $20 million when your parents die, I mean, I guess you could argue, no, you don't need to. That's not most of us. I mean, it's a problem. I really need to talk to my parents about that, by the way. That's a problem I don't have. So, yeah, I think the fact that you have a great job, which is, I think that's pretty cool that you feel that way about it, because everybody doesn't, is more reason, because you won't have that job forever. You won't physically be able to do whatever. I don't care what it is. You physically, at some point, you won't be able to do it, or you might want to come back, or, in 5 years, you may feel differently, because wherever that great job is, that place may change. It may change leadership. It may change ownership. It may change what they do. And as far as the entrepreneur who sells the screws, who can, buy one for 20 cents and sell it for $1, that won't go on forever, because markets don't work that way. That goes back to productivity. There will be a lower cost provider come in at some point and undercut you and sell that screw for 80 cents, right? So that's why you should, I'll go back to using the same term, you should inventory money, not because it's sexy, not because it's going to make you rich, but because at some point that tree will stop growing. It will not grow to the sky.
Now let me ask you this, because you said one of the statements that something caught my ear is like, how do you become a millionaire? And you said, well, this doctor owns a building. Mm-hmm. Is that most of the people that you work with, where they have, they started off, they built up some cash from having a doctor or a lawyer job, but then they're like, okay, well now I've got this capital, I'm going to invest that in the building, and then that sort of becomes even more mainstream, or is it always their original source of income that pilots them?
They don't become wealthy because of their source of income. I mean, if you look at, I hate to pick on doctors, but I mean, if you look at doctors, they're horrendous on average. Some are wonderful. The ones that are my clients are wonderful, but there are many that are not. They're quite terrible. The people that make $500,000-$600,000 a year and couldn't write you a check for $10,000 if their life depended on it, because the problem for doctors is, and I don't mean to pick on them, but they have delayed gratification, right? So the average doctor doesn't start making money till they're in their early 30s, because they've gone through all this schooling, and it's hard, and they've got pent-up demand, and one day they're making $40,000 as a resident, and the next day they're making $300,000, and they got a Porsche, a big house, 3 Sea-Doos, and a whatever, right? That's that pent-up thing, because their friends have been working for 13 years, and while they may not make as much money, they've been buying cool stuff, and you're like, I wish I had some cool stuff, and wait, I got $300,000, boom, right? So I'm a little off track here, but the point is that their primary income is not how they get wealthy. If they're smart with that income, and even if the income's $60,000 or $70,000 or whatever, and you carve off some to invest and save, or maybe invest in another business, maybe you buy a rental property and then 3 years later you buy another rental property, or maybe you buy a house at a really good time. You bought the house, it's in College Park, it was 4 years ago, you paid $200,000, now it's worth $4,000, and you're like, well, I've been here 2 years, there's no tax implications, I'm going to sell it, take that $400,000, buy another $200,000 house, take the $200,000 that I made, set that aside somewhere. Those are processes that there's no one way to do this. I mean, there's many, many ways, like a golf swing. There's lots of wonky looking golf swings that work. So I would suggest to you that it's not just the income. And to answer the question, was it Nick asked the question? Yeah. The answer to the question, yes, of course you should save and invest. And I want to distinguish between the two, because a lot of times I'll go to a 401k meeting and people, all they want to talk about is the funds or the returns or the markets or the bonds or the stocks or international or domestic. What should I do? Well, if you got $1,000 in the account, it really doesn't matter what you do, because if you're 48 and you've got $1,000 in the plan and you think you're going to put it in something and it's going to become $500,000, that's not going to happen, right? So what you have to accept is that until you save and put 10 grand or 20 grand or 50 grand, the return doesn't matter. It simply doesn't, because I don't care what you earn. You still can't retire. So until you put in the effort to save the money, you got no issue with investments, because it simply doesn't matter what you put the money in. Once you get 50 grand and now you earn 10%, and that's 5 grand, that's meaningful. You got 100 grand, you earn 10%, it's 10 grand. But if you got $1,000 and you made $100 because you earned 10%, not life changing. So I distinguish between the two. Now, going back to Nick, is if you have a great job and you make good money, maybe you look at a rental piece of property. You do your 401k, and that's boring and nobody likes it, but it works. Lots of people retire with $1 million in their 401k.
That's my saddest way to invest, by the way, because I just put the money in and I don't really control it. I'm just like, there goes that money.
That's good.
I know it's good, Scott, but I hate it.
I know everybody hates it. People will say, I'm not giving the company my money. No, you have it backwards. They have to give you their money, because most companies have a match, right? So if you put $100 in, maybe they put $30 in. Well, that's 30% on your money.
Yeah.
You want a sexy investment? I put in $100. I deducted it. I screwed the government out of 30 cents, and my dumb boss gave me another 30 cents. So I literally made 60% on. Obviously that's an example. Everybody doesn't have that great of a match, but lots of people do. That's 3% is a pretty common match on a 401k. Yeah.
This is my favorite email, I think, that we've gotten so far. And I know the commercial that she's talking about. This email comes from Carol, and she says she listens to the iHeart app. And on the app, there's a commercial that says, I need to invest in gold right now because the economy is so close to a recession. How valid is that?
That you need to invest in any particular commodity or thing right now is not valid at all. There's nothing you're going to do right now that's going to change your life other than to become disciplined and save, right? So, gold is always a hot button topic. And whenever the economy's struggling, there's a certain group of people that go on television and radio and try to sell it to you.
Yeah.
Usually it's a former secretary. If you're fond of websites where there's a lot of end of the world scenarios going on, and
they all start with it's like www whatever.
Yeah. Get your supplies and your food for 3 years. Dig your bunker. Here's your bunker supplies. Yeah, those kinds of places like to sell gold because it's a fear sell. And every recession, every downturn in the market brings those people out. It's buy gold. It's the only tangible whatever. But first of all, gold is no more meaningful than anything else, right? We all just kind of agreed on wink and a nod. Hey, this stuff's worth a lot of money.
Shiny rocks, man.
It's a shiny rock. The Egyptians liked it. We like it. So we're not on the gold standard. We did away with that a long time ago. There is, no matter what you think, not nearly enough gold in Fort Knox to support the economy that we have currently today. And again, this is the one thing I say to people. So there's a guy on TV. He's the former secretary of something. And he says, you must get gold now. I have these gold coins. The economy's going to fall apart. The world's going to end, but you're going to have my gold coins. It's going to be the only form of currency. It's the only thing, Ryan, that is going to be worth anything. So think about what that man is saying. He's saying, I have this thing that is really the only currency the world's going to know. But instead of keeping it, instead of giving it to my family or storing it in my basement, I, Ryan, am going to sell it to you for $29.99.
So nice of you.
Yeah, he's a great guy, isn't he? He knows the world's ending, A. B, he has the gold that will help him through that period. And C, he's going to give it all to you.
I mean, that's how he got that secretary job.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a very thoughtful and decent human being, I'm sure.
But whenever I hear those commercials, and like I said, I know the ones he's talking about, is it seems like that the whole world would have to collapse, and then we go back to using doubloons as money.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, like gold seems like valuable to me in a way. Like we put gold into computers because all computers are rocks that we taught how to think, so like things like gold and platinum and things like that. I'm like, oh, those have an industrial thing and they make a thing, but to just sit there and hold a bar of it is it seems counterintuitive at this point.
It makes no sense because if you have gold and let's say for some reason, some weird reason, we all agree that gold is a thing and that's how we're going to shop from now on. Well, if you walk through the street with your bar of gold in your hand, somebody is going to shoot you and take your bar of gold, right? So again, the currency comes back to power, which comes back to corn seed and gunpowder as far as I'm concerned.
I don't even like having more than 4 credit cards in my wallet. I couldn't imagine having to walk around with a bar of gold all day long. And a chisel. And I got to scrape it off at the Publix. Well, there's no Publix. The Publix is on fire. I'm buying.
Exactly.
I'm buying,
It's not going to be orderly at the deli while you wait for your sandwich.
No, not if we're buying everything in gold. Yeah. Well, I hope everybody had fun today out there in Radioland as you listen to It's Only Money. And if you want to get a hold of Scott, the website is edgewaterfamilywealth.com. Like I said, they do have the contact section that you can email us. It's Edgewater Family Wealth at RaymondJames.com. And they also have the blog. The Fin heads all go there for Fin Talk with Tammy. And it's general good time. So check out EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. And we will see you next Sunday. Tammy, Scott.
See you next Sunday.
Peace.
See you.
Yeah, and clearly people are rich, right? Or wealthy. You don't have to be rich. I like the term wealthy better. I mean, to rich reminds me of like the Monopoly guy or something. But, there are people, there are regular people.
Now that guy I trust. See, the problem, Scott, you don't have a monocle.
Monocle is, now, if you can meet a guy with a monocle, I mean, I'm all in.
What was his financial advice? He said buy Park Place?
Where is that?
Where is that? I can't find it.
Tune in to It's Only Money with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth, Sunday mornings at 7 on Real Radio 104.1. Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Edgewater Family Wealth is not a broker-dealer, is independent of RJFS.